Hi everyone, Isaac here from Norweld Tray. Today I'm going to talk about the Norweld difference. What's the Norweld difference? The Norweld difference is all these things you see behind me here. Extrusions, hardware, lights, locks, tanks. All these things are designed and developed by Norweld for use in our trays and canopies, and what makes us the leading innovator in the tray and canopy space inside Australia and probably the rest of the world. We've been doing it a lot longer than a lot of people. Anyone can build a tray and canopy, but doing it to the level that we do it, time and time again, in a mass manufacturing facility such as the one that we're in right now, that's the difference. That's why these things make your Norweld tray and canopy the best on the market. Our design team spent countless hours in R&D, engineering, testing, FEA analysis, on-road testing, millions of kilometres by our team as well as our customers to ensure that the products that we put into these trays and canopies will last the test of time. The key component of aluminium trays is aluminium. The predominant feature and the thing that makes Norweld unique is our extensive range of extrusions. So one of the things that we did back in the day was like a sheet metal sideboard. It was pressed up 2.5 sheet metal with welded in stiffeners. We ran those from in the early 2000s, mid-teens. Let's design our own extruded sideboard and tailgate. That in itself was a bit of a challenge because if you look at the profile, it's quite complicated. So it's got down the bottom, we've got this part which the water will hit and it'll stop any dust forming. We've got the built-in stiffener up the top. We've also had to develop that in two different sizes, tailgate and sideboard. A lot of work to get right. We played around with multiple different profiles. It's one of the biggest extruded sections that the suppliers extrude down south. It's extruded in Australia. It's not something that we get made and chucked in a container. It's made in Australia. So very cool, unique product. There are products that are made very similar, but nothing with this extra webbing and strength that we've gone through to ensure that our sideboards and tailgates are probably the strongest ones you'll find on any Ute tray around. Even if you go steel, you'll struggle to find something as strong as this. Uni-strut, so there's a lot of people in the market using the uni-strut inside and outside their canopies. The original uni-strut, we owned that mold back in the 90s. We actually spec'd it out of aluminium. Traditionally, it's a product made out of steel and it's sold through a lot of electrical wholesalers, but then we went, no, we want that in aluminium. We owned the mold back in the day, and then we stopped using it for a few years and then they just pushed it out of the market. We redesigned this uni-strut to be a lot thicker. So traditionally it's 1.6 mil. This is all 2.5 and we've got that extra bit of 5 mil thickness on the top. So when it sits there and supports, you've got all that extra meat in there. So we make two sizes of that uni-strut. There's a 40 by 20 and a 40 by 40. Exterior, interior. So that goes in our canopy roofs and ensures that we hang our shelves, our travel buddies, our air compressors. There's plenty of strength in that. It's substantially stronger to a traditional piece of box section because you can't stretch that metal. It's quite thick through there. So really cool little bit of gear that. You wouldn't see it. If I didn't point it out that it was unique, you probably wouldn't even notice. But again, it's something that we use a lot of and it's a key part and it's a key aspect of the Norweld trays and canopies. One of the most complex extrusions that we've had to design and then work out a way to bend that. So if I go end on, you can see how complex that profile is. Has this through here, square on the front edge, radius is round. So when it's on the front of the car, that's your cab, the wind's coming around. We've tested that. They're 33% more aerodynamic than the tube headboard that we currently make. And that was done through wind and load testing as well as dynamic stress testing, vibration testing, and a lot of stuff that our engineers in-house. Tommy and Josh are both excellent engineers, very knowledgeable. They spent a lot of time working with getting the elite tray to a point where we know that, yep, it's going to look good and work well. This extrusion, looking at how complicated it is, bending it in itself was another whole set of challenges. Custom machine, custom dies, custom mandrels, all these things had to be designed from scratch to ensure that we could bend this material in our standard headboard profiles, same as what we currently do with the tube, but not have any distortion, minimal marking of the material, so then we can refinish it to a uniform look. Without this, the elite tray wouldn't have been able to be something that we could stand behind and go, this is the best on the market, what we feel. Really cool bit of extrusion, very strong, incredibly strong. And the design of it, a lot of people look at it, they don't even realise what it is until they're up close and looking at it. And again, something that the whole team is very proud of. If we keep going with trays, so our standard deluxe trays, we have, on your rear light board, you'll find that most vehicles with the tray, if there's a flat tray on it, it'll either be an extruded cheap aluminium tray or a steel tray with box section and plate, or an aluminium tray with box section and plate and sheet metal. We go to the next level. We used to use a bit of box section, you know, 5, 6 years ago. We designed our own box section. You can see the end profile. It's tapered. There's some few cutouts in it. There's lines to mark the center lines for the holes. And this is an extrusion that's designed to act as a stiffener in the light board, but also hold our number plate lights at the correct angle to ensure that we illuminate the number plate correctly. Cutouts for the wiring looms, and all that's welded into the tray, so you wouldn't even see it if you didn't know. But again, with the profile and design, very strong. If we keep going on with the Elite Tray, one of the things that we had to do with the Elite Tray was design a new light board section. So with the rear, we developed this new extrusion for the rear. It's got your number plate lights going there. Again, recesses for your wiring. Big, thick, solid extrusion. Plenty of effort went into that. A lot of 3D printing. We got a couple of 3D printers and we spent a lot of time printing all that off. The floor plate goes on there. It's welded. With that, you've got your side profile for your Elite Tray. So your Elite Tray, this is your side, that's your rear. Your color-coded section bolts onto this. With our tail light panels, those both remove. So if you do damage those, you damage the rear drawer, you can swap the rear drawer out without having to remove the whole tray. You damage where your tail lights are, you can swap that panel out. So the design with the Elite Tray allows for that, you know, DIY repair if you have a small little accident out on the trails. This one is one I sort of come up with a few years ago. Ladders. So most ladders we had was either box section or tube. Back in the day we did a tube ladder, so it was all TIG welded 32x3 tube. Very nice looking bit of gear, a lot of cool TIG welding, but again, slow, cumbersome to manufacture. We went to a sheet metal ladder with box section. And then a few years ago, I sketched up a profile and said, let's just do a tread like that for the ladder. It's not heavy, it's strong, and with our ladders, which are obviously a product that comes standard on all our canopies, unless you get 3-door, great little feature. So this is a canopy extrusion, goes in the roof where the doors are, and it's 2 different angles. So this angle and this angle are different. They're not the same. It's a trapezoidal shape, but the angles are different based on Hilux, Land Cruiser, and full size. Rather than having to carry 2 lots of extrusion, we've just said, look, let's just do it universal, left or right. Roof racks, so our multi-racks and tradie racks, they're a very popular feature on our canopies. Standard, all canopies with your canopy, it's gonna have a roof rack. It's gonna be the multi-rack, it's gonna be the tradie rack, or you could option the tent bars. This is the front and rear profile of those roof racks. So bullnose on the front, tapered, acts like a windbreak. See a lot of the roof racks now come with a windbreak. This acts as a windbreak for that. So rather than having a square edge, hitting it, that wind buffeting and creating a vortex or, you know, a bit of wind noise, whistling, stuff like that, this solves that problem. And also if you're loading it, stuff's coming over it smooth. If you're a chippy plumber and you got to chuck stuff on your roof rack, this gives you a nice smooth edge just to drop stuff on there and push it in. Rooftop tents. So there's a lot of different tents out on the market. With all these tents, we had the challenge of how do we mount multiple tents to our canopies without having to reinvent the wheel every time. So it's a heavy duty extrusion, 60x40 approximate dimensions. It's got a heap of router cutouts that we cut into it, and it's got a lot of holes there. So I know that this can fit a lot of tents on the market. I just fitted a Camp King the other day to one of these. I've done the Camp Boss, Bush Company, the Boss Aluminiums fit on these, which is one of the ones I designed it for originally, which is these holes here. There's a lot of tents that this fits. Designed to go in the vertical plane like that, but if you had to and you had to sneak it down, you can bolt it down like that, get it lower. If you run it in the high side, you can bolt your awning brackets to it, so they come off and up. And that ensures that if you've got one brand awning with another brand tent, you can still run that awning with the tent. Can't do a Norweld difference video without talking about one of the things that is really the biggest difference that you'll see on most trays out there compared to ours, tray mount. So 10mm aluminium, fully welded, very heavy duty. And I think you're gonna find something more beefy underneath a Ute tray anywhere in Australia. Very strong, all CNC router cut, all fully MIG welded, a little bit of TIG welded. We also notch out and drop that through, so when the tray goes on, that sits on there and we can bolt through there. If you're looking at a tray, they're not all the same. Compare you know, whatever tray you're looking at, if you're looking at a Norweld, ask about the mounts. Check what they've done to ensure that the tray, the car, the canopy, everything's gonna hold up over time and serve you well, no matter where you go. Spend a lot of time on small things to make a big difference. The new whale tail design. So this one, coupled with this, gives us the central locking. Bolt those together. That's our exclusive Norweld lock with central locking capability. So with the canopies, that's where the central locking will work. It's got the Norweld logo on there, so if you do option an actuator, it's going to say Norweld on there. It's made by the supplier. I'm not going to say the name of the supplier, but if you buy a Norweld, you'll see the name of the supplier on that casing. With the lock, it's a whale tail design. You can padlock that through there. It's got a roller cam to seal, so as you pull it down, that pulls in, pulls tight. There's no exposed fasteners or fixings. Everything's hidden on the back side. Very heavy duty, a lot thicker and stronger than the existing lock. These don't really give us any issues. They're a great lock. There's thousands on the road and they do really well. This is the next level in evolution when it comes to strength and security. So gas struts, every canopy will have gas struts in the doors. Doesn't matter what brand. I don't know what force this is, but I can't push it down. These ones are spec'd to our length. So we get the struts made. It's got a Norweld logo on it and it's designed for our length. There's a lot of preset sizes of struts. We've sort of tweaked it. We found a size that works. It's in between two different sizes and we said we need them this long. If you've ordered a canopy and it's got an internal layout, or you're looking at a canopy with an internal layout, one of our deluxe lights or deluxe canopy, it's going to have draw slides in it. So draw slides, there's heaps out there in the market. They're not all created equal. Weight ratings mean something. If they're 60, 115, 227, that just means the extended load that they can take. So obviously the shorter the slide, a big heavy slide like that, and 600 mils going to hold the weight better at full extension versus something like a 1200 mil slide. We have a 227 kilo rating on our draw slides, 1, 2, 3, and this one's 115 kilos. You'll see a lot of them on the market have that. That works. It's a little bit hard if you got your hands full. So we developed this pull tab setup. And that works really well. So then you can open the drawer, just hook your finger on it. Nice and simple, pop and open. Doesn't need to be that heavy duty, but if we want to know it's going to last, you're going to go do the Gibb River Road, Telly Track, Savannah Way, somewhere where there's a lot of bumpy dirt roads. We need stuff like this in the canopies to ensure that that canopy is going to get you home. This is an extruded hinge. We machine our own bushes in-house. Uses a stainless nut and bolt configuration. It's a really clean little extrusion, set up for welding. Goes on the canopies. It's the perfect width, length and height for our canopies. Works well. So we've got our Norweld exclusive tail light, unique to Norweld. Please don't call up asking to buy a pair of the lights. Don't message us on Instagram saying, can I please buy the lights? I've already got a tray. It's not a Norweld, but I want new lights. We don't sell them. The only way to get these is to buy the Norweld trays. Tapered left and right, obviously, that's why that, and then it matches the light board profile perfectly. With the hinge, obviously you've got your pin, you've got your hinge, you've got your bush. So these are unique to Norweld, hidden fixings. Everything's made for us by our supplier. It's not something that you can buy. There are other stainless hinges on the market, but they will have exposed fasteners on them. We'll do about 2,200 trays this year. Out of those, 1,600 of them will be trays with sideboards. So if I times 1,600 by 9, which is what a tray gets, that's a lot of hinges, that's a lot of pins, a lot of bushes. Machined threaded rod, so beautiful machine finish. A lot of work goes into these. Machined, counterboard, beautiful piece of product. The spare tyre plate, stainless, but it's impregnated inside some plastic, so it doesn't mark your wheels. We've got our exclusive wing nut that we make. There's a few other bits and pieces. There's wing nuts, there's washers, there's nuts. But the bits that are unique to us are these ones here. We also make this, which is designed so if you've got a 35 or a 37, you can offset that rod to ensure that you've got plenty of range to suit 33, 35, 37 inch wheel tyre combo with these bits of hardware. We've got a couple of different hinges. So on the standard toolboxes on the deluxe trays, we have what we see here, which is our little hinge. So this is a product that is readily available. It's called a pintle hinge, K1, K2 pintle hinge. What we've had to do is change the depth of it. So the standard hinge has a slightly different profile in depth. So because we have a rubber system and a gutter system on our toolboxes, we needed to ensure that the hinge would be compatible with what we've designed on the boxes. So the only way to do that was to get these made in such a way that they're slightly different height to ensure that we've got the clearance and the rubber isn't overly squashed or under squashed to ensure that we've got adequate sealing of the toolbox. It's designed for our elite toolboxes. So again, it's an off-the-shelf product, but we've had to get it adjusted in such a way that the force, the torque hinge, has a set amount of force on the way down and on the way up. So I'll splice some B-roll in, show you the hinge working in action, but this is a hinge that was very hard to find. And then once we found it, we had to go through a lot of, can we get it in this tension? Like, we need more force here and less force here. We want it to be slow on the way down and easy to push back up. When we bolt our side panels on, we have these little stainless fixings here, which also matches our hinge. So if you get an elite tray without sideboards, we'll have these blanking strips, but we've also gone to the effort of an extruded plastic backing strip to ensure there's no stainless on paint issues. It also stops any scratching. And then this plate we get made, it's countersunk, electroplated, very clean. That goes on it. And then we also have a little bush here that we put on the backside as well to ensure that there's no galvanic corrosion between all the dissimilar metals. I've seen a lot of water fillers and fuel fillers on a lot of vehicles over the years. One of the things that always stuck for me and Steve and Jamie was that we wanted our water tank fillers and diesel, fuel fillers to look good and be functional. The water filler is one part, so we call that a slimline filler for the water tank. It's got the cap, it's got a breather, which is a stainless breather, so standard fitting. It's barbed, it's all one piece. The old days, you'd get a bit of tube, weld a threaded neck on it, weld another bit of tube, put a bit of hose on it. We've machined something very clean and simple. Diesel, a lot of the full-size vehicles run these, 200, 300 series, all the full-size vehicles. This is a filler, so it allows us to use an off-the-shelf Trident locking fuel cap. And a lot of the genuine caps if your vehicle's got a tub and it has a cap, these caps will work as well. So this is a machine, it's an adjustable setup. So it steps down from 50 all the way down to the hose size of 38 mil ID. So if you've got a water filler, you're going to have a water tank. So with the dual cabs, we get 40 litres. Extra cab, single cab, extended Land Cruiser, full-size vehicles, they're all 58 litres. And obviously, filler comes down, fills in there. There's a breather and a drain. So these are made by a supplier in Townsville. They're based off a design that we used to have in aluminium, which was very similar shape, but made from 4mm aluminium. A lot of welding, fully welded, very heavy duty, very strong, but heavy. So these saved about 8-9 kilos on the small tank, and there's about 12 kilos on the large tank. So our tray weights went from sort of 245 down to 233 kilos. It's fully molded, it's got the brass fittings in there, it's got fixings with compensators, so it's got a sleeve in there so we can bolt them into the tray. With the poly tanks, they're BPA free, so they're safe for drinking water, obviously. So this is designed to suit our jerry can holders. It's 25 litres. Traditionally, most jerry cans are 20 litres. We sort of snuck it out an extra 5 litres just to make it a bit easier. On the water tank, there is a little bung there, so you could add a tap. The jerry can holder is designed to have this drop in, and you can access that tap if you wanted to add a tap. Okay, so hopefully the Norweld difference, I've explained that a bit better. Why Norweld, who we are, what we do, why we do it, the products that we use, the suppliers we work with, the designs that we have. Everything has a purpose and a reason. We won't just do something because it looks cool. We'll think about it. We'll go, okay, well, that looks good, but let's test it. Let's make sure we can manufacture it in such a way that we know it's going to serve the customer, ourselves, and the people that are involved with it. There's no point coming up with a great product if it takes 4 million hours to make. There's no point building something if it's crazy heavy or it doesn't last longer than 6 months. So all these things we think about in the design and development process. We do a lot of testing, R&D. We've always got canopies in cans at the main facility. We've got a design team of 5 in cans, which is engineers, industrial designers, drafties, process improvement, mechanical engineers, all those people working together to ensure that we're spending the time to develop products, test them, refine them, and ensure that our trays and canopies, once they're on the road, they're not going to give you any hassles. We don't want you having to, go bush, go remote, and worry about whether something like a tail light's going to fail or you're going to have a strut, not work. We spend a lot of time working with our suppliers to ensure that the products are the best possible product they can be when it's added to our tray canopy package. If you've got any questions, drop us a comment below. We'll answer what we can. You can always give us a call and have a chat. You might not get me, you might get one of the sales team, but we're always open to discuss. If you go into a branch and you want to talk or ask a few more questions about how this works or explain this for me, how does that go together? Can you show me so I can get a better understanding before I order my tray and canopy? That's what we're here for. We're here to answer your questions and guide you through the process to make a smart decision when it comes to purchasing a tray and canopy. Thanks for watching. So if you haven't subscribed to YouTube, jump on, subscribe, norweld.com.au. You can give us a call, 1300 302 899, chat to the team. We've got offices in Cairns, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Townsville, Newcastle, Adelaide and Perth. Drop in, see the team. We all love to have a chat. We love showing off what we build. We're very proud of the Norweld range of trays and canopies. And I'm sure if you bought one, you'd be proud of yours as well. Thanks again.